Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Carla and Crappy Show. I'm Crappy. That's Carla. Hi, Carla.
Hello.
Hello. It is week 6 of the college football season. We have a ton to talk about. 2-hour recaps notwithstanding. There's plenty of other stuff that happened beyond the games from last weekend. Boy, last weekend was fun, and I'm glad I stayed up for that one in Tuscaloosa.
Yes.
I think we might mention that briefly. We're going to start, however, with something football adjacent. As we mentioned last week, we were kind of wondering about the effects of Hurricane Helene. As we all know by now, and again, we're taping this on Tuesday, so stuff could change by the time you listen to this. Hopefully things will improve. We're aware especially about the damage that was done in Western North Carolina by Hurricane Helene last week. I've only spent a long weekend in Asheville. Carla, I don't know if you've ever been.
Yes.
I just love beautiful town. If you're a beer person, it is amazing. Yeah. And seeing how badly that city and the area around it was flooded is just devastating. And of course, just a bit to the northeast sits Boone, North Carolina, home to a program that we've always loved and appreciated and featured on the show, Appalachian State. The Mountaineers were forced to cancel their game against Liberty. That, of course, is the least of their problems. Yeah. There are a variety of ways that you can help the folks in Western North Carolina, in Eastern Tennessee. I think that's where the damage was the worst. There's no shortage of ways to do that. I would suggest the Red Cross for one. But we wanted to highlight a particular thing because we are so fond of Appy State. And Carla, you found this. This is it's a university relief fund for the Appalachian State community and for Boone at large. You can find, we're going to highlight the university's disaster relief fund that benefit those two things. We'll have the link in the show notes. But if you go to appstate.edu, it is featured right on the homepage. So that is a college football centric way to help. But certainly I would encourage you to do whatever feels right for you. Because man, Carla, that's just a mess.
It is. And so I was passed word by that. So again, one of the interesting things about living in Nashville is that people kind of, come here, migrate here after, retirements, or, we get people from all over the place. Nobody's actually from Nashville. We joke about that. Right. And one of the women that I sing with at church, I joke all the time about being on West End, right across from Vanderbilt. But one of the women that I sing with, who actually has a Pittsburgh connection, she's from the Pittsburgh area, actually. And yeah, so I connected with her, and that's how she ended up at West End. She and her husband did. It was kind of fun. But she is faculty emeritus at App State. So when I saw her on Sunday, having seen some of the pictures, I mean, just being absolutely devastated by what we saw. And I talked to her, and she was visibly shaken. Yeah. Having talked to her colleagues that are still there, And I said, well, if you hear of anything, ways that we can help the campus, the university, the students there directly, please let me know. And she emailed me the link to the relief fund that the university set up, which is the one we're going to link in the show notes. So, if that's a way that you feel led to give, it's a legit thing. And, based on somebody who used to work there and is still very tightly, related to the university, that's the best way right now. Okay. It's not good. That whole area is not good. I spent a lot of time out there. Some of you may remember I used to work for a nonprofit. Our summer event was held at Lake Junaluska, which is right around the bend in off of I-40, right before you get to Asheville. So that section of I-40 that collapsed, like I know that curve. Like as soon as I saw the picture, I went, oh my God. Wow. I drove on that curve every summer for 7 years. And right now you can't even get into Asheville. There's no way to do it on the ground. All of the highways, the interstates are all gone. It's going to be a long recovery effort. Yeah. So anything that you feel led to do, whether it's Appy State or American Red Cross, or I'm affiliated with United Methodist Church. We have UMCOR, which is on the ground already there. A
Okay.
great place to donate as well. It's UMCOR. They have a special fund set up right now specifically for Western North Carolina. You can
Okay.
give there as well. There's a lot of good places that you can give to.
Mhm.
We need to help this region. Like you said, the breweries. I was just there last summer,
Yeah.
and to see the River Arts District completely underwater, we spent a good afternoon there,
Yeah, absolutely.
and there were some good breweries right there on the river,
Mhm.
and they're gone
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So yeah, tough weekend. Good football, but like that was tough. It's
Mhm.
still tough, and it's going to be a long way back for them.
Yep. So I would urge you guys, if you have a little cash to spare, if you are able to do that, take a look at your options. Carla, through the Methodist Church would be another great way to do that. But our friends at Appalachian State need help. They
Yeah.
they have not been in classes all week, and didn't sound like they were certain when classes were going to resume. So appstate.edu. You can look for that in the show notes. We'll put the link to the United Methodist Church too. That's a great option as well. Um, we are a football show,
Yes.
and there was football last weekend. A whole bunch of it, as we noted, and it's not going to take us quite 2 hours to recap everything. I'm gonna be a little myopic, but Carla, I guess you have like a speed round rundown of everything you saw last week.
Yeah, so two games I obviously want to dwell on a little bit, and I think one of
Mm.
them we have in common, so I'll hold on that
Okay,
until I get through my list. But let me go a little myopic on my Penn State win.
please.
Um, that was a nice win, but oh boy, do we need a kicker. Mm,
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem later in the season, and that makes me a little bit nervous as we start playing some higher level competition that's coming up in the next several weeks. I did love the new wrinkle in the offense with Tyler Warren taking direct snaps. Um, he was a quarterback in high school, so
Mhm.
that's why that's working.
I didn't know
Um,
that. Okay.
yeah, he was recruited to Penn State as an athlete,
Hmm.
converted to the tight end once he got there, but he was a starting quarterback for a really good team in Virginia. So, putting him in that wildcat kind of situation, taking the direct snap, like he can read the defense.
Hmm. Yeah,
And so
makes
that's a
sense.
really nice new wrinkle in the offense. I like that a lot. It's
I
successful.
don't. I don't
I
like it at
didn't
all.
think you would, but I do. The offense looks solid for most of that game. Defensive line did a really nice job of getting into the backfield. Lots of sacks in that game. I didn't write down the number exactly, but
Mhm.
lots of pressure in the backfield. But man, like the one thing that also makes me concerned, other than the kicking situation, is if they get pushed beyond the line of scrimmage,
Mhm.
like not so much. Like it was just like if the Illinois front got
Mhm.
pushed,
Mhm.
they were able to run the football.
Okay.
And that's a little concerning. That like if they don't get into the backfield, like they might get beat on the line. And that's not a situation that you want when you're going up against the Ohio States, the USCs of the world, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's something that needs to be shored up a little bit. And it was, I was talking to my dad about this because, he's for those of you that don't know, he's the graduate of Penn State, and that's how I became a Penn State fan, similar to your situation.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, we were talking about it, and it's like I don't even know how to fix it
Mhm.
because they're good on defense and they're good on offense. But
Yeah.
like, why isn't it like we're not converting drives? And part of that's because of the kicking situation.
Mhm.
Some of the play calling on third down was a little head scratch worthy
Okay.
at times. But like other than that, it's like I felt good about the win, but not as
Mhm.
good as I wanted to feel. After a two-score win like that. So yeah, so still some work to do there.
Okay.
Um
If I can jump in,
mhm,
first thing, a friend of the show, Kelly Krieg, is now a frequent guest on for Palooza.
yeah.
She actually wondered if Tyler Warren knows how to kick a football. I,
He's recruited as an
I
athlete,
mean, give it a
maybe.
try. Give it a try. I also saw. I work at home on Mondays, and I had the replay of your game on, just sort of paying attention to that. And I saw my favorite play. This was highlighted in the broadcast, but I saw my favorite play of maybe the entire weekend. It's Nick Singleton, is that right? Um,
Yes.
Third quarter. He is running a pattern to the right flat, but before he goes out there, he has a chip block assignment on a massive defensive end and just destroyed him.
Yeah.
So chip block, runs the pattern in the right flat, catches the pass, and then also, by the way, made the defensive back who decided to tackle him regret that decision.
Yes.
Um, it was seriously just a little snippet there, but it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was impressed.
Yeah, that was a nice play all the way
Mm.
around. So yeah, so we still have some work to do, but looked good. I wish they would have put it away a little earlier, but had they been able to kick, they would have.
Mhm.
So that's the situation there. Talk about their game this weekend down at the end of the show here. Okay, so my lightning round stuff.
Yes.
Very quick hits here. Very surprised about Oklahoma against Auburn.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and the fact that they actually needed it was Oklahoma's defense that got the win for them.
Yeah.
A pick six in the fourth quarter. So that was a little bit surprising to me. Holy cow, Arizona smoked Utah. Um,
Yes.
and that was unexpected. And again, also an unexpected statement. Arizona smoked Utah and Salt Lake led by its defense.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
At four fourth down stops in that game.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, really kind of surprising out of the Wildcats there. Particularly on the road. Like that
Mhm.
wouldn't have surprised me as much playing at home because that's a tough place to play, but especially at night. But man, to do it in Salt Lake, that's something. I don't know what to make of all that.
Mhm.
Western Kentucky almost knocks off BC. Um,
Boy, that's a fun game.
I didn't see that game because
Mhm.
we were having a birthday party for Ellie.
Right.
But I was score monitoring that game on my phone, and I was like, "Is Western going to do it? Is Western going to do it?"
I
And
really thought so.
frequent Bowlapalooza guest Braden Gall was at my house, and so we
Uh-huh.
were score watching that game together. It's like, "Is Western going to do it? Is Western going to do it?" And we were both very upset when Boston College scored in
Yeah.
the fourth quarter.
Yep.
As anticipated, show ponies all over Florida State. Then you got to wonder how Mike Norvell is feeling right now. I mean, we know how he's feeling, but like,
Yes.
is that a reality? I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, as AJ texted us in the middle of the night, Ashton Janty
Oh, yeah.
runs runs for 259 and 4 touchdowns for Boise. Um, I was laughing with you all as I was watching that game because I managed to stay up through halftime of the
Mhm.
late slate. I had a quad box going and it
Nice.
looked like the Boise section of my screen needed to be color corrected. I've never watched a Boise game in a quad box.
Uh-huh.
And doing it in a quad box, man, that's jarring. But yeah, Boise gets a huge win at home. I was expecting them to win that game, not by that margin. Um,
Who all has weird fields? Like Eastern Michigan's field is gray. We've got Boise. Are there two others? Could we do like a quad?
Coastal has a teal
Yes.
field.
Coastal. If we could get like a quad box with the weird fields, maybe that would be like a regular feature we could do. I don't know.
YouTube TV, make that happen,
Okay,
please.
yeah. I'd be all for that.
Yeah, I was actually I was pleased about well, I'll get there. Let me get my last little quick thing is K-State looks
Yes.
to be back on track
Mhm.
with a big win against the Pokes. So that was nice. So it looks like the Power Cats are back on track. So like just lots of stuff. And I mean, the weekend got off to a crazy start on Friday night. And like you kind of knew when Friday night happened that like
Yeah.
Saturday was going to be weird.
Yes.
And Saturday was weird. In a lot of ways. And I'll talk about the game here that I think we both want to talk about, which is Tuscaloosa. So
Yes.
this was interesting because I was watching the game, right? But I was in a quad box because I had my game on, and that was
Mhm.
the game that I
I
technically
was
had
doing
the
the same
sound
thing.
up.
Mhm.
I technically had the sound up for that game, but not really because when Ellie goes to bed, we turn the volume down. So I'm not really listening to anything.
Right.
And the two games that I was paying attention to, I had um Alabama, Georgia in like top right,
Mhm.
Penn State, Illinois in bottom right.
Okay.
Okay, so they were like on the same half of the screen. And so I'm
Mhm.
watching these two games and I'm like glued in on my game. And every once in a while I'd glance up and go, and because I wasn't paying much attention to it because Bama was up 28-0.
They were destroying Georgia.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, like here's hoping Georgia makes this interesting in the second half.
Mhm.
And yeah, and so like I'm watching my game and like really in and like watching the Singleton play and like all those things. And I look up, like, oh, Georgia scored. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. And then I looked up again, like, Georgia's trying to make this thing interesting, aren't they? Oh, Georgia's trying to make this real interesting. I should probably start paying attention to this. And in a perfect like timing moment,
Uh-huh.
Penn State closes out Illinois. That game ends like literally 5 minutes of actual time before Georgia takes the lead. Like I had
That's
literally just moved over and moved
yeah.
Alabama, Georgia to full screen at that point.
That is
Um,
about when the Ohio State's game ended, and I turned on Alabama Georgia, and it's like, oh wait, what happened?
yeah. So I went full screen knowing that that was a one score game just in time
Mhm.
to watch Georgia go up by one and the absolute meltdown in Bryant Denny. And then to turn around in the very next offensive play
Yeah.
for Bama to
Yep.
take that, hello everybody. I'd like to introduce you to Ryan Williams.
Mhm.
And welcome to Bama lore, Ryan Williams. He's 17 years old.
Yes.
17 years old and
Yes.
made that catch. And just remarkable. Like that's a name that we're all going to, those of us that are Big Ten fans, are going to loathe over the next 3 seasons,
Yeah.
until he is draft eligible because that kid is something special.
Mhm.
And as long as Bama's got a quarterback, they're always going to have a passing game. And even if you take that 75-yard touchdown out of his stat line,
Mhm.
he still had more than 100 yards receiving in that game.
Yes. Yeah.
So man, just a fantastic football game all the way around that I was glad that I got to catch the end of it like in full, like devoting all of my attention to it.
Mhm.
But man, if they keep playing that, like give me more of that, please. That game was entertaining as heck. As much as I hate to say that it's an SEC matchup, I get it, but like that was amazing
Mhm.
all the way around.
Mhm. I don't know what to add about that. I was complimenting myself because I've had the suspicion that Carson Beck is not the guy that Georgia has had at quarterback recently. And in the second half, yeah, I was clearly wrong. Um, so for them to come back, the kid wide receiver, um, I have thoughts about Ohio State's kid wide receiver, who is only a year older, but that was impressive. His kind of spin move that he did to break free and score on that play was unreal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to talk real quickly about OU. Um, they opened the season against Akron, won 30-10. There was a bit of a quarterback thing for the Bobcats earlier in the season, but I think Parker Navarro has solidified uh, his position as the starter. I had his numbers up here someplace. Where are you? 204 yards passing, 113 yards rushing, and he is not OU's leading rusher, but he had a great game on the ground on Saturday. So
Mhm.
good start for the Bobcats in conference. Pleased with that, and they have a bye this weekend. Ohio State does not have a bye this weekend, and that's actually a game that we're going to talk about. I was again, this is clearly going to Michigan State at night. Clearly a step up in competition, and at the outset, a nice atmosphere for the kids up in East Lansing. Sparty was able to move the ball in the first half, and I'm not sure what to attribute the slow start for Ohio State's defense. It didn't give up. We didn't give up a ton of points. Um, and in the second half, whether or not that's coaching adjustments or the team just deciding to get its stuff together, they only gave up 60 yards in the second half. And most of that was in garbage time when backups were on the field.
Mhm.
Um, Will Howard made a couple head scratcher throws. One pick, one that should have been. Overall, though, had a very good day. The thing that I am super impressed with, and I don't know why skill players blocking is stuck in my brain this week. Emeka Egbuka led Ohio State with receiving yardage, 96 yards. And had a touchdown. He had a better day blocking than he did with the ball in his hands. And there were a number of plays where I noticed or they highlighted on the broadcast where he has just cleaned somebody out. Um, in the run game, and that's part of the reason why the Ohio State's rushing game has continued to improve. That and a much better offensive line that will get tested this week. Since everybody's all excited about Ryan Williams, I do want to highlight Jeremiah Smith. His back-to-back one-handed catches, one to extend a drive and one to score a touchdown. He scored a second TD on a jet sweep. Yeah, sure. Ryan Williams is fine. I like my guy. So there we go. You mentioned Utah getting buried by Arizona at home. And I've been thinking about I don't know how much you saw of Miami and Virginia Tech on Friday. That was a game that they probably technically should have lost.
Yeah.
That
It
was
was a
a
touchdown.
interesting reversal of the touchdown call at the end of the game.
Yep.
We're going to try to figure out what's going on in the Big 12 and the ACC. As you look at those two conferences, given all of the weirdness, who are your favorites right now? Who's gonna, if you had to make a pick right now, who's gonna win those two conferences?
Well, I mean, if you look at standings alone, let's do Big 12 first, because I think that's
Mhm.
the one that's messier.
Mhm.
Look at standings alone. Who's leading the Big 12 right now?
Is it Iowa State or is it
It's
BYU?
it's BYU.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, with the quality wins that they have,
Mhm.
I, it, somebody has to beat them for them not to win it, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's really how this works. And
Mhm.
at this point, they look solid and slightly unexpectedly so. I mean, they've got a tough road ahead of them.
Mhm.
Excuse me, but yeah, I mean, you've got to think at this point in the season they're the favorites.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is in the top tier. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced.
Mhm.
Because Colorado's up there. I'm not convinced about the Buffs. Texas Tech is up there. I'm not sold on the Red Raiders.
Right.
Iowa State's up there. I'm not sold on the Cyclones. Like, it's just Arizona's sitting right there, but like I don't trust them either. At this point, like the teams that I probably trust the most are
Mhm.
BYU and K-State.
Mhm.
And K-State's just been inconsistent this year.
Yeah.
And so at this point in the season, I'm gonna say it's gonna be either BYU. I still think Utah is good. They fell a long way in the standings by losing one game.
Yes,
Because
they
it's still
did.
such a young season,
They
right?
did.
They fell a long way in the conference standings, but I still think Utah is right up there.
Mhm.
I think this was just a hiccup along the way, and I need to like dig in more deeply to figure out what was the hiccup here.
Okay.
But it might come down to the Holy War.
Mhm.
This might be a BYU Utah conference. Which who boy, if it comes down to that
That'd
game,
be fun.
that would be a heck of a lot of fun.
And
ACC
they
wise,
could end up playing each other the following weekend
they could.
in the title game.
In a title game. Yeah,
Yeah.
I that would not surprise me one
Mhm.
bit at this point. So,
Mhm.
so that could be a lot of fun. And in fact, I might actually start rooting for that because that would just be a stupid fun welcome to the Big
Okay.
12 kind of moment.
Yep.
Over in the ACC, I think there's kind of two teams right now that are clearly like head and shoulders above everybody else.
Mhm.
And I don't love that I am saying this, but I think those two teams are Clemson and Miami.
Okay.
And the problem with that is that both of these teams have let us down in recent years,
Yes.
right? I mean, we talked last week about Clemsoning. That didn't happen as much as I was rooting for that.
Mhm.
No, Clemson handled business and took care of Stanford pretty easily there. And we just were waiting for Miami's hiccup, which might have been last Friday night.
Yeah. Might have
But they got the call that they needed, right?
been. Mhm.
So where is Miami's hiccup going to happen? Are we going to get a Clemsoning situation? Both of those things have happened regularly in the last 5 seasons. I don't trust either of these teams.
Right.
If I had to lean right now, assuming that those situations aren't going to happen, I think Miami is the better team right now. But so I guess I would lean them. But I think that matchup's coming up soon. I think they play each other in the next couple weeks for the regular season matchup. So that's going to sort itself out. But at this point, I think I would give the edge to Miami just a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Miami, I have their page up here. They do not play Clemson in the regular season.
Oh, interesting.
So, that's something that come down to a title game. I really, I really like the Hurricanes, with Cam Ward. Um,
Yeah.
he he is matured. He is a fantastic athlete. His throws kind of just look effortless, and they are on the money. I'm not convinced, and we'll talk more about this when they have to play at Cal this weekend. Uh, I'm not sure about the tools around him. Um, Dabo is doing Dabo things. He has Clemson looking like old Clemson. Um, I think at this point, I would pick Clemson to be my favorite in the ACC. Just the way the offense has clicked recently, the defense has been very good. Uh, I I yeah, I think that's I think we'd be looking at a Clemson Miami title game, and I would pick the Tigers, I think, to win the ACC. Excuse me. As far as the Big 12 goes, I'm curious. BYU has a fantastic start. Um, I'm curious about Iowa State because Iowa State, that's it's a similar situation. Iowa State does not play BYU in the regular season. So that could be a title game situation.
Hmm.
I gotta pick BYU. They have been consistently good.
Hmm.
Um, they play enough defense in that conference.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good way to describe defense in the Big 12, such as it is.
Right.
Um, I don't you can't rule out K-State, but they've been inconsistent and kind of dug themselves a little bit of a hole. But yeah, right now I got to pick BYU, I think, and a holy war matchup. Even if Utah doesn't have the kind of season it wants, to be able to spoil
Yeah.
BYU season in the last game of the year, that would be a fun game to make sure you're watching because that will be a little bit of motivation for the
Yes.
Utes, for them Utes. Um, I did want to touch on Carnegie Mellon. The countdown to the big game is on, but they had their hands full on the weekend. They went down to Washington and Jefferson and lovely Washington, Pennsylvania last Saturday and found themselves in their first contested game of the year. They were down 19 points at halftime.
Wow.
Rattled off enough points to tie the game at 24 with 9 minutes left. The Tartans and the Presidents headed to overtime. Washington and Jefferson kicked a field goal to take the lead, but CMU hit a 20-yard touchdown on the second play of its first overtime possession, won the game. I think the unquestioned player of the game. This is another just overall stat line, and I'll have the numbers for you. Quarterback Ben Mills, fifth year senior, he was 13 of 24. Okay, 218 yards, nice. 3 touchdowns, very good. He added 50 yards rushing, and he's also the team's punter. He dropped 3 of his 6 punts inside the 20. So that's a pretty good day, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good day. Up next for the number 12 Tartans, a Saturday night home game against 1-3 Waynesburg, the final game before traveling to Grove City on October the 12th.
Can I
For
issue an
all,
editorial correction here?
yeah, please.
That would be Little Washington.
You're right. Thank you. Correct.
And those of you from Western PA get the reference, but those of you in Nashville,
Cor-
don't worry about it. It's fine.
correct. Correct. Um, this is an interesting weekend coming up. There's one ranked on ranked game. There are a ton of games that are kind of like, huh, that's interesting. And I'm sure AJ is going to tell us about a few of them. He is here right now with his group of 5 After Dark report. AJ, go.
Hello, everyone. It is this week's Group of 5 After Dark report for week 6. We're already at week 6. And we're going to start on Friday night. Carla and Crappy are going to talk about this one too. We have to talk about Syracuse at UNLV. And last week, I said very nice things about UNLV's quarterback, David Sluka, who then proceeded to say, hey, I'm actually opting out of the rest of the season because he didn't get his NIL bag. And in the process of doing so, everybody was like, well, UNLV's season is done because he was a major factor for their record up to that point. And then they went out and spanked Fresno and dropped 59 on them. So honestly, what do I know? What do we say at the end of the show? Come back next week and tell me how wrong I am. So, hey, here we are. UNLV's favored by 6.5. Syracuse doing a rare going west to play a team. You may see some apps, my normal app, Sports Alerts, which I quite like because you can pay to make ads go away, and it's a super simple app for seeing scores, has UNLV ranked 26th because it was a very funny thing. UNLV and Texas A&M, two teams that are the exact same ranking in the polls, they are tied at 25th. They were listed on the AP's website as 26th. And they fixed the website since then, but still, here they are. Syracuse is still pretty good. Kyle McCord is doing wonders up there in Syracuse. They are 3-1. Their only loss is to Stanford. And here they are again on a Friday night. I'm still taking the Rebels to win. On Saturday at noon, we have to go to the ACC network for the most ACC game possible. Don't come at me because they've only been in the conference since 2009 or whatever, but we have Boston College at Virginia. UVA is only favored by 1.5. Fun Index is 53.5. And this is super interesting. Boston College has looked really, really good all year. We all need to apologize to Bill O'Brien because we thought they were going to be worse. And Virginia stunningly has also looked good. Anthony Calandria is that guy. And I'm super interested in this game. This is going to be a pick'em game. It's going to be 60 degrees and sunny. Like, this is a proper noon ACC game, and you need to put your eyeballs on it. Give me the Eagles to win this game. Also at noon on CBS proper, we have Navy at Air Force. Navy is favored by 10. The Fun Index is a proper option football, 35.5. Air Force continues to not be able to throw a touchdown. They still have not done it. The Sickos Committee has begun referring to them as Army 2 because there is no Air Force in Air Force. Navy is really, really good. The only thing that gives me pause about saying, yes, this is Navy's game and this isn't even close, is last year Navy came into this game also undefeated and then proceeded to absolutely crap themselves and turn the ball over like 5 or 6 times and lost to Air Force, who also did not look good at the time. So I'm very, very interested to see where this game goes. I still think Navy is going to win. They have looked fantastic this year, and Air Force has looked like true garbage. But hey, this is, Chair Force versus Coast Guard worldwide. Give me Navy to win here. We're going to scroll right on down to a game at, I believe it was 3:30. Yes, 4 o'clock. Excuse me. We have Rutgers at Nebraska. Now, normally I don't cover Big Ten football, but I have to point this game out. Rutgers is 4-0, and they beat Washington in an incredible game where Washington put up all the yards in the world and only scored 18 points. Rutgers is still 4-0, and Nebraska is 4-1, and their only losses in overtime to Illinois. This is a super interesting game because these are two teams that most people either A, didn't think much about last year or didn't think were going to be good this year. We obviously had Nebraska being potentially 7-0 going into the Ohio State game. I'm super interested to see where this goes. Nebraska's favored by 7. I do think Nebraska gets the job done at home. The Fun Index is a 40.5, which is true Big Ten football. But this is a super interesting game to keep your eyes on in the 4 p.m. slot. At 6:30, we have Colorado State at Oregon State. Oregon State's favored by 11. This is on the CW, as all good football is. I really am wondering what the heck happened to Colorado State. They have a lot of talent. They just aren't doing anything with it. This is in Corvallis. I expect Oregon State to win. Chainsaws go up. But again, Oregon State 3-1 on the CW. What's not to like? At 7 p.m., though, we have a truly giggle game where we have little old Clemson going into Florida State to play Florida State. And I'm only picking this game because, Florida State is truly, truly awful. And I have a feeling that Clemson is going to hang every bit of the fun index of 47.5 on Florida State. Like, Clemson's favored by 14.5. I would not be surprised to see like a 55-10 type of game. Florida State's defense is bad and their offense is bad, and Clemson's defense is not great, but Clemson's offense is truly good. They're going to hang a ton of points. So if you would like to watch a fireworks factory go off, there's one right there for you at 7 p.m. Also at 7 p.m. on ESPNU, we have James Madison, who is 4-0, going to Monroe to play ULM, who is a full 3-1. JMU's favored by 17. I don't care. Give me the Warhawks. The damn Warhawks. They're going to keep going. General Booty, though, got benched last week. And we got some quarterback controversy in Monroe, but I think they still get it done. They get up at home for this game, and I expect Monroe to maybe come out with a win here. I'm super interested in that game. If we go down to 7:45, we have UCF at Florida. This is my Sickos game of the week. If you see the Sickos committee and you see their Sickos game of the week, I, as a member of the committee, voted for UCF at Florida because, buddy, the boosters are going to come for Billy's head if he loses to UCF. And UCF is favored by 2.5. Fun index is 61.5. Florida is trash. But UCF is not the team you lose to if you're Florida. So, this could be fun. Keep your eyeballs on this game. I'm sorry, David. Chomp chomp. Hawaii playing on the mainland at San Diego State. San Diego State's favored by 2.5, largely because Hawaii is not playing where their superpowers are on the island. Screw them. Go Bows. Hang 100 on them, Hawaii. Get them. Seriously, I want to see Hawaii do well on the mainland. They don't do well on the mainland recently. Give me something good on the mainland. Go Bows. At 10:30, the game of the week. Game day is there. Miami at Cal. Miami's favored by 10. Cal has the best defense that Miami has faced yet. And Cal's offense is pretty good. The problem is Miami's offense is a literal Death Star. They are number 2 in the country in yards and points scored. They are very, very, very good at what they do. Cam Ward has 1,700 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 4 picks. It is week 6. Okay, Sam Levitt, just for giggles, Sam Levitt, who's the quarterback of Arizona State, has started every game and has 855 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. So, just differences in opinions on offense there, I guess. I expect Cal to get up for this game. I don't know that I necessarily pick Cal to win. I would love to see Cal win and the Calgorithm throw off Miami. But Miami is like good. Their defense is real good, and their offense is crazy good. The U might be back. Let's see if they can get past the Cal Bears. What a sentence in 2024. Amazing. And finally, just to tuck you in at night, we have Texas Tech at Arizona. Arizona's favored by 6. Fun index is a truly amazing 11 p.m. Eastern kickoff. 64.5. This is why we watch the late games, okay? Texas Tech quarterback Baron Morton has 14 TDs and 2 picks. He is a baller. Taro McMillan, who started the season with the famous 4-touchdown game, still sitting on 4 touchdowns, has not caught a touchdown since. Might want to spread that out, buddy. But neither one of these teams plays defense. Truly, they do not play defense. I'm going to pull up one quick stat here, because I found it to be truly hilarious. These two defenses, Texas Tech is 122nd in points allowed. Arizona is 63rd. Texas Tech is 125th in total yards. They give up 463 yards per game. That's an average. They have played 5 games. Just throwing that out there. Arizona is 74th at 355 yards. Texas Tech gives up 309 passing yards. They're 132nd. That makes them almost dead last if they're not dead last there. I can never remember that number. And Arizona's 59th. Like, neither one of these teams really plays defense, but Texas Tech is ranked 16th in points scored and 15th in total yards of offense. Arizona, not so much. This is a points factory, and you should stay up real late and watch it and just watch touchdowns happen, because I think it'll be great for you and for your health. This has been this week's Group of Five After Dark Report. I'm going to turn it back to Carla and Crappy with a question for the audience, not for them, for the audience. When you think of the Calgorithm, what shows up? Okay, bye.
Thank you, AJ. That's a fun slate, and we're going to be looking forward to digging into those games, as well as digging into a bunch of games on our list that maybe some stuff that we normally wouldn't talk about. But again, no ranked unranked stuff. So let's dig a little bit deeper and see what we come up with. And I'm excited about these. I think it's going to be an interesting weekend. You and I are starting on Friday, 9 p.m. on FS1, Syracuse at the number 25 University of Nevada, Las Vegas Running Rebels. The Rebs are favored by 6.5 points in Allegiant Stadium. Is that their home? They don't play in the Silver Bowl anymore, correct?
They are playing in Allegiant Stadium for this game.
Okay.
Yes.
The AJ Fun Index is a respectable 59.5 points. No Sluka, no problem for UNLV.
Yeah, that's my first line here. Is everyone please meet Haj Malik Williams, the new starting quarterback at UNLV, who had 4 total touchdowns last week, and the Rebs just absolutely blew out Fresno. And Fresno is no laughing matter. I mean, Fresno is usually right at the top of the Mountain West here, so that's a big win, particularly in a game that we really didn't know, what UNLV was going to be after Sluka. So yeah, to have the team rally in that way, that says a lot about the core of this team, right? And so this becomes a really intriguing game because, Williams has his coming out party against Fresno, and now he gets to play at home. I'm using air quotes because I don't at least in Vegas. They're playing in Vegas, right? And you suddenly have this really intriguing quarterback matchup between Williams, who looks like he might be the next guy for UNLV, playing up against a name we've talked about a lot over the last couple of years in Kyle McCord, right? McCord already has almost 1,500 yards on the season, but we knew that. We knew he's a good quarterback. But this is huge. This is a huge difference here. McCord has 5 picks on the season.
Yes.
Already. And so here's what I think is a key stat in this game. UNLV is tied for 3rd in the country in turnover margin. The Rebs have had a really tumultuous couple of weeks, finds itself nationally ranked this week. And to me, Syracuse still kind of feels like a team trying to figure things out. They've had a lot of people transfer in. They've shown sparks of just, glimpses of what could be a really, really good team, but they've just been inconsistent. UNLV had a huge chaotic week and went and blew out Fresno State. I got to take the Rebs here. Friday night spotlight, nationally ranked, looking to make a statement. Give me the Rebs.
Okay. I as you noted, Haj Malik Williams stepped into the quarterback position and had a day at leading his team to just smoke Fresno State. The Rebs are 4-0 and in good shape to take on the Orange. Syracuse doesn't have a quarterback problem either. Kyle McCord is the guy. He's thrown 14 touchdowns this season, a lot of yardage. He's doing the same kind of head scratcher stuff that Ohio State fans would recognize from last season. You referenced the 5 picks. There are moments where it's like, what are you looking at? Because I don't understand. I think he is in a position where he should be a better quarterback than he is, but they're just those little things that that are holding him back, and that's exactly the kind of thing you can't do on the road against a good opponent. I think UNLV wins, and somewhere Jerry Tarkanian bites his towel.
Well, and that's an interesting point about Syracuse.
Mhm.
Supporting cast around Cal McCord is not as talented as he's had the last couple of years.
No.
And so that's exposing a lot too
Mhm.
about McCord and his abilities. Not to like drag on the kid, right? But like
Right.
it's showing that like if these problems are here, it was not his supporting cast
Mhm.
that was the issue here. And you're right. I think it's going to come out. I think UNLV wins.
Yeah. Yeah. We moved to Saturday at noon on the American Broadcast Company. Number 9, Missouri at number 25, Texas A&M. The Aggies are favored by 2 here. Interesting.
That is interesting.
The AJ Fun Index is 44.5 points. Carla, what do you think?
So the last time we saw Mizzou, they
Yes.
were eking out a double overtime win over Vandy, right?
Yes. Yes.
So my question in my notes is this team as good as we think it is?
Mhm.
Or as good as it should be based on the talent that is on that roster, right? And so now we go and give them a tough test. This is their first road game of the season. They have not left
Right.
Columbia
Right.
up until this point, and it's in College Station, which is notoriously a really tough place to play. Now, the one thing working in their favor, it's a noon kick, which is 11 a.m. local time. So you're not going to get the night game with the 12th man.
Helpful.
So that does help a little bit here and works in Mizzou's favor. Aggies' only loss was to Notre Dame in week 1. Otherwise, though, they really haven't looked as dominant as you would expect out of a Texas A&M team. They edged Arkansas last weekend. That game was tight. We knew that game was going to be tight. And they just barely eked out a win over Bowling Green the week prior. Ask me how I know about Bowling Green, right?
Hey,
Bowling
Carla,
Green playing the role of Wisconsin, being annoying
right
to everybody in the
Right.
FBS. But like when you compare these two teams, and this was surprising to me when I dug into the stats here, Mizzou actually has the better offense, and that's not the way we would normally think about these teams. Normally, we think about the Aggies having like they're all offense all the time, and that's not the case this year. This year, it's Mizzou that comes in with the better offense. They're number 19 in the nation in total offense, averaging just shy of 475 yards per game. They're fairly balanced between the run and the pass, even with Brady Cook as your quarterback. You know, and he's a good quarterback, right? Texas A&M almost 100 yards behind that. And you know, and they lean way more on the run. So I went to the defensive numbers like, okay, so how's Mizzou against the run? The Tigers are one of the best in the conference against the run. Less than 100 yards per game. So that to me, as long as they can put aside the Vandy debacle, which was 2 weeks ago now, they had a bye. So as long as they can put that aside, and that was just a hiccup, I think all of that adds up to a Mizzou win on the road despite the line. So I'm going to take the Tigers on the road here. This game should be really entertaining.
I think so too. Neither of these teams are coming into this game from a position of strength, as you mentioned. You know, Missouri in the Vandy game, they've at least had a bye week to kind of to put that aside. The 26-20 win over Bowling Green in College Station by Texas A&M is almost as head scratching as it would have been if they lost the game. That's not true. It would have been a stunner. But you look at that and you think, okay, this is an indication of something. Last week, I'm not sure. Arkansas could be a pretty decent team. As it turns out, they've been putting together a decent season. I wonder about the fact that complacency and what that had to do with Missouri's game against Vanderbilt. You know, the having all the home games, a MAC team coming into the building. Okay. College Station is not that. College Station is a tough place to play. Those guys are nuts and will be even at noon, not as nuts as a night game, but they're going to, that's still going to be a tough environment. I think the Tigers will have their full attention put on this game. I think the defense in particular is going to set Missouri apart, and they will come out of College Station with a win. Also at noon on ESPN, Southern Methodist. This is I I'm really tempted to bet the over on this one. Southern Methodist at number 22, Louisville. The Cardinals are favored by 7. The AJ Fun Index is what feels to me to be a low 57.5 points.
Yeah.
What do you see here?
Why isn't SMU ranked? I'm asking
Yeah,
that question.
yeah,
You
yeah.
go out and you absolutely blow out Florida State. Now,
Mhm,
again, we obviously have questions about Florida State, but that's
mhm.
that's a traditional power.
Yep.
Their only loss on the season is looking better and better and better as the weeks go on because of the 3-point loss to BYU.
Mhm.
Um, both of these teams, like you mentioned, they take the over and maybe then some. Both of these teams are top 5 scoring defenses in the ACC.
Mhm.
And so the difference here, what I think might play a difference, is actually Louisville's defense.
Okay.
The Cards are a top 5 defense in every category: run,
Mhm,
pass, scoring, and total.
mhm.
So we're really going to find out what this SMU team is and what they're made of because they're going up against one of the toughest defenses they've faced so far this year.
Yeah.
Again, another factor here: turnover margin.
Mhm,
Louisville's turned it over 3 times last week in the first half
mhm.
against Notre Dame. SMU has one of the best turnover margins in the conference. So, like, that's something to pay attention to. Now, Louisville almost came back and won the game.
Mhm.
So they are a resilient bunch. I think this, out of all the games we're talking about this weekend, I think this might be the toughest game to pick. Because these teams have like it's strength on strength in a
Mhm.
lot of these situations. Um, I think I'm going to give the edge to Louisville at home.
Yeah.
But this game, what was the line?
Uh, the over under is 57.5.
Oh, the spread. I'm sorry.
It's 7
7.
points. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a one-score game.
Okay.
And I think Louisville, or I think SMU can cover here. I think it might even be
Ooh,
smaller than 7.
ooh,
Because
okay.
I really think the show ponies are that good this year.
Mhm.
From what they've shown us so far. So I think they gave Louisville a run for their money, but I'll take the Cards at home simply because they're playing at home, and I like that Louisville defense.
Okay. Okay. Louisville. I mean, you wonder why this is not the biggest AJ Fun Index of the week. Um,
Yeah.
and I think the only when you look at the matchup, the only thing that you see that might drive that number is Louisville's defense, which has been uh, very good, and not against all patsies. That's a
Right.
that's a win over Georgia Tech. That's a fairly tight game on the road at Notre Dame. Um, so again, it's better than a speed bump. Um, and that's going to be a good thing when you're going up against an offense like SMU. Um, and the Mustangs have been all gas, no brakes, with the exception of that one game against BYU that you mentioned, when they could only muster 15 points. Defense spoils the fun.
Hmm.
That's all there. That's what AJ would say. I am confident in speaking for him. I think this is going to be like pinball scoreboard, ding 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 ding. But the Cardinals defense will be the difference, and they will win this game at home. For the first time this year, we are going to discuss an Ohio State football game.
Yes, we
Um,
are.
at 3:30 on CBS. Iowa comes to Columbus to visit number 3 Ohio State. My Buckeyes are favored by 20.5 points. The AJ Fund Index, remember, kids, Iowa is involved. So the AJ Fund Index is 44.5 points. That's just how it is.
Yep.
What do you see here, Carla?
I really want to be excited for this game, and I'm just not because okay, we'll give them this. Iowa
Okay.
is scoring points this year.
By Iowa standards, it is a torrent.
32 points per game is
Yes.
their average so far this season, which is something that the Ferences could only have dreamed of last season, right? But this just doesn't seem to be the Iowa team that we have seen in
Right.
recent years, right? They're
Mhm.
they're middle of the pack in the conference in total defense. They're 14th in pass defense in the
Mhm.
Big Ten.
Mhm.
Um, Now, that being said, they are good at defending the run.
Yes.
So it might be a frustrating afternoon for Judkins and Henderson.
Mhm.
But that being said, Will Howard, the rest of that Buckeye offense, should make up for any lack of ground game there because the Hawkeyes defense, pass defense, is just
Yeah.
not it.
Mhm.
So I say, and I know you'll have a lot more to say here. So Bucks at home comfortably. It might not be a cover, but definitely a comfortable win.
Okay. I referenced the Iowa scoring machine the Hawkeyes have been this season. You mentioned 32 a game. That is unimaginable.
Yes.
Just over the last couple of seasons, if you look at what Iowa has done. A couple things I will be watching for. This is the best run defense that Ohio State has seen this season. One of the better ones it will see all season.
Yeah.
So how's the running game going to hold up? It has improved every week. And so if you see Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins racking up the yardage on Saturday, you'll know that I'm having a fun time. One thing that Ohio State has been doing that its defense did not do a year ago. It's very good defense last year, a very good scoring defense, especially. But they have been pressuring the quarterback more. I think 3 sacks against Michigan State. They have been creating turnovers. That is a huge thing. That is something that they did not do a year ago. The 3 turnovers against Michigan State, against a guy who's going to be a pretty good quarterback. So that is something that Ohio State, I will look to see if that is able to continue. If the defense is a little more freewheeling, I don't mind giving up yards. And the last 2 games, Ohio State has done that in the first half. And then, made adjustments, whether that's schematic adjustments or just mental adjustments at halftime. They have come out and played lights out football in the second half. So, yeah, Ohio State's going to win this game. I'm going to be looking for continued improvement. I'm going to be looking for pressuring the quarterback. I'm going to be looking for turnovers. And if you see those things, you will know that I am having a lovely afternoon. Also at 3:30 on ESPN, number 12 Ole Miss at South Carolina. Ole Miss is favored by 9. The AJ Fun Index is 52.5 points. Can the Gamecocks get a signature win at home over an SEC opponent?
Maybe.
Okay.
This game's super intriguing now,
It
right?
is.
Because Ole Miss how did the Rebs respond here after getting dragged down a slugfest against Kentucky last week? At home, nonetheless. And remember, this is a Gamecocks team that we all picked to beat LSU a couple weeks ago, and they almost did.
Almost did it.
And they're coming off of a bye, and they're playing at home. This game could get spicy, right? Because this is the best pass defense that Ole Miss has faced so far this season. Better than Kentucky's, right? So, can that Gamecocks defense throw some speed bumps at Jackson Dart and the receiving core? Note to everybody in Columbia, go review the tape from last weekend, right?
Yeah.
And if that is the case, and this South Carolina team has a good defense, they can absolutely win this game at home. And if you remember correctly, South Carolina demolished Kentucky a couple of weeks ago, 31-6.
Yeah.
So if you're comparing common opponents here, when you root for, let's root for chaos. This is a game that doesn't mean a whole lot to me personally. Let's root for chaos. Sure. South Carolina, go win this game at home and let's mess up the SEC. Why not?
The Ole Miss loss, it was a college kicker situation. But they looked lost against Kentucky's defense.
They did.
And the Gamecocks have a better pass defense than UK does. This is, I think this is their first, I think this is like their first real opportunity to kind of as they get into the SEC season, this is a chance that they can overcome what they struggled with last week, or they could run into a buzzsaw again and fold. They're in a tough spot. They have games against LSU, Oklahoma, and Georgia, all almost in consecutive weeks after this one. Not that this one's going to be a breather. You look at this on paper and you think, yeah, okay, Ole Miss should win this. But after last weekend and seeing how the Rebels struggled against a good defense, I think the Gamecocks can win this. And absolutely, I'm cheering for chaos. So yeah, let's go Gamecocks. Beat Ole Miss at home.
And watch Kiffin go out and win this game by 21. Like, I mean, that could happen too, right?
That is entirely possible.
Yes.
7:30 p.m. on NBC. Number 10, Michigan is at Washington, where the Huskies are favored by 3. The AJ Fun Index is a 41.5. That feels appropriate to me. Carla, what do you think?
It feels high to me, to be honest.
Probably.
I think I'd take the under on that one. But like, okay, so I know like NBC has been billing this as like a national title rematch, right? Whatever.
Yeah,
but okay,
whatever.
Let's hit the brakes just a little bit here. Okay, right. This game is going to be nowhere near the amazing game that we saw last year for the national title game.
Right.
We know that Michigan's offense is struggling. They've had fewer than 100 yards passing in each of their last 2 games. And here's why I worry a bit, because as we all know here, there's no love lost for the team up north here. I really, really want to pick Wisconsin. Yeah. The other W team in
Washington.
in the Big Ten now, right? Yeah. Washington. I really want to pick the Huskies in this game. I really, really do. But here's why I worry. The Huskies are not great at defending the run, and that's the one thing that Michigan is doing right now, is running the football, right? Washington is 12th in the conference, allowing 121 yards per game.
Okay.
And while that's not a lot, it might be enough for Michigan here. That being said, Michigan's not the juggernaut on defense this year, as we're used to saying either.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
If Will Rogers can get his offense going and establish even just a little bit of an air threat, this Michigan defense ranks near the bottom of the conference. That stunned me when I saw that. They're at the bottom of the conference in pass defense. They don't have a good secondary. My hesitation here is I keep picking Michigan to lose, and they keep finding ways to win games. Right. Like, and Washington is coming back from a cross-country beatdown at Rutgers. I don't like that. I don't like that, because with all that extra travel, and they got that was a beating in New Jersey. Could this be a get-right game for Washington? I hope it is.
Okay.
My heart says, Washington, please go win this football game.
Right.
But my gut says that somehow, some way, Michigan figures out a way to win this football game, and it's going to be ugly. And if Michigan wins, it's going to be like hammer the under. If Michigan wins this football game, hammer the heck, like that's how it's going to happen. It's going to be a low scoring game, and the defense is going to figure something out to slow down Rodgers. But, God, I really want Washington to win this game, but I think Michigan does.
Okay. Carla, pop quiz. How many teams are there in FBS?
134.
Correct. Where does the University of Michigan rank in passing yardage defense?
Well, they were
passing yardage. Excuse me, not defense.
Passing yardage.
Yes.
They were next to last in the Big Ten.
Okay. Nationally, they are in 130th place. In fact, bench quarterback Davis Warren, who has not played in 2.5 weeks, is still Michigan's leading passer on the season.
Yeah.
Does that matter this weekend? I think it's gonna be more and more important as we get into the conference, the meat of the conference schedule. I think you're going to see teams stacking the box, bringing the safety up, playing man to man on the edges. And just daring Michigan to throw the football.
Yeah.
And if you have a team that is so one-dimensional, even if they do that one thing really well, it becomes a difficult thing to keep relying on. And we've talked about this. Michigan's wins um, have been tight, even against the early season cupcakes. Um, what does Washington have? You've documented where they sit statistically pretty well, but they have a bunch of guys who remembered last year's title game and who are itching to get a measure of revenge. They have motivation. They're playing a one-dimensional team, and I think Washington's going to win this at home.
I hope you're right.
I hope so too. 10:30 p.m. on ESPN. We can call it ACC After Dark.
Woo-hoo.
We can call it this nickname I came across earlier in the week, the Woke versus Coke Bowl.
Oh, God.
Number 8, Miami at Cal. The Canes are favored by 10 points. The AJ Fun Index is 54.5. Carla, what's going to happen here?
You can't do that to me. End of show. Come on. Because my lead was, yes, friends, it's ACC After Dark. That's a thing now. Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in 2024 is weird. As tempting as it is to take Cal here, especially because Virginia Tech didn't beat Miami, or Virginia Tech should have beat Miami. Don't at me. It was a touchdown because there wasn't enough evidence there to overturn the call.
Clearly not.
I just don't know if the Bears can keep up here.
Mm-hmm.
At Miami's offense, when it fires on all cylinders, is really good.
Yeah.
It's a really good offense. Yeah. And yes, Cal's defense is pretty solid, but so is Miami's. Mm-hmm. And so the only reason that I can really kind of find to like pick Cal to win this game is because it's a cross-country trip. It's a literal cross-country trip for yep. Miami. Otherwise, to me, this feels like it could have the potential, if there's no jet lag here, it feels like this could have the potential of a Canes get-right game. Mm-hmm. After like being drug into the mud by Virginia Tech, part of me feels like Miami's going to go out to the West Coast and just absolutely beat the living daylights out of Cal. Like, I think that's a possibility mm-hmm. here. So I'm going to take Miami on the road, even though they're coming all the way across the country. I hope this game is as entertaining as it has the potential to be, but I'm just not mm-hmm. feeling that right now. I feel like Miami's going to win this game pretty handily.
Okay. Cal has looked very good this year, beating Auburn on the road, very nearly topping Florida State and Tallahassee. Miami did its Miami thing last week. As you referenced, they lost that football game to the Hokies, and got a bizarre break from the officials at the very last minute. That is what Miami does, and that's why they are so tough to pick. Recently, there's always a game or two a season where they don't show up, or there's a boneheaded play, or the thing that Mario didn't help himself last year. So I guess I don't see them doing that twice in a row. I referenced the fact that I've been impressed with Cam Ward. I think he's mm-hmm. as good a quarterback as anyone in the country right now. Milroe has, I think it looks like he has more weapons. But Cam Ward's been spectacular. I think he is capable of providing a steadying presence. I would love for the Golden Bears to win this game.
Yeah.
And again, rooting for chaos and more fun in the ACC. I can't see Miami doing the Miami thing 2 weeks in a row. Cal is not generally a tough place to play. The travel aside, I think this is going to be a pretty easy win for the Hurricanes. Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, a variety of other podcasting hosts. You can watch us on YouTube or the show's Facebook page. As you may recall from a year ago, or last week when I mentioned the same thing, you can read us on our Substack. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business. Be sure to come back next week to see exactly how wrong we were Carla, any final thoughts?
And because there's a bunch of really good games next week. Like this totally feels like a catch your breath kind of weekend. There's a lot of interesting stuff here. Um, and as we know, it's these weeks that have like those little like those hidden games on the schedule is
Yes.
when things get real weird and real
That is-
crazy.
this is-
This
this is-
week sets
this is
up
the week when
really
that
well.
happens.
This is the week. Yeah, this is the week where if something weird is going to happen, it's going to be this week because nobody's paying attention, right?
Right.
Because next week there are a bunch of games that are going to have our attention.
Everyone's paying attention. And it's my birthday next week. So.
And it is your birthday next week.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have a bunch of really good college football happening on your birthday. That
Woo!
must be like is that like a golden birthday thing? I know it's not like a. Can we count it as a golden like?
Sure.
Because obviously your golden birthday was when you were 12. So like, let's have another golden birthday.
Boy, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Anywho,
anyway,
okay, so this week, the only one really other game on the schedule because we didn't talk about it, and that is UCLA going to Beaver Stadium to play number 7 Penn State. The line on that game is real dumb. They have like
What
Penn State win. The Penn State's winning by 20, I think, is favored in that game, and that's real dumb. I don't think I think UCLA is able to keep that game a little closer than it probably should be, just because of the hype around that game, and it's on Big Nude. But I definitely feel better about the game this week. And had you told me this at the beginning of the season, that I would feel much more comfortable about playing UCLA than I would about playing Illinois, I would have laughed in your face.
Right.
But here we are. I feel much better about this game than I did about last weekend playing Bert at night.
Bert.
I know. Bert. Dang you all. But yeah, this is a Penn State win, but I think it'll probably be a little more close, or it would be closer than what we would like.
Right.
Middle is off. Welcome to Cuse action. Middle doesn't play again until October 10th, so they've got a long delay.
Okay.
They play on October 10th, which is a Thursday, and then they turn around and play on Tuesday.
Oof.
They have a 3-day layoff essentially between games because welcome to Conference USA and midweek scheduling.
Right.
So here we are, we're right in the thick of that. So they're on a long break. It's been fun. I've been pulling onto campus, and normally Derek Mason has them out practicing first thing in the morning in Floyd. And so I see them as I'm driving into campus. And this week it's been quiet in Floyd in the morning. So I think Mason's kind of giving his team a much needed break. It's been a rough start to the season for the Blue Raiders. And now that we're getting into conference play, this is where the games really matter. And you got to get to that 6 wins. So we got to, you got to win 5 more games to get to a bowl. So let's see if the Blue Raiders can do that. And then finally, also a friendly reminder to my friendly Nashvillians to avoid West End at all costs on Saturday afternoon, because guess who's coming to Vanderbilt?
It's going to be overrun by Rammer, Jammer, Yellow Hammer, Give 'em Hell, Alabama. Is that how that goes?
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know the exact
whole
thing,
bunch of Crimson Tide fans.
Yeah, number 1 Alabama comes to town. Vandy, you have the potential here to do something real fun.
Come on, Commodores. Come on. Come on.
Anchored down. I'm rooting hard for Vandy, but yeah, I think it's gonna be a long afternoon on West End as per usual when Bama comes to town. But yeah, if you live in Nashville, avoid West End at all costs. It's going to be overrun by red and crimson and white. So yeah, that's all I got. Lots of fun little stuff on the weekend.
Okay. I have a little extra time on my hands on Saturday, because OU, like Middle, is on a bye. So I'm going to work in, some more kind of, dumb games, I guess. They're not really dumb games, but
there's no such thing.
Stuff I'm going to pay attention to. Southern Cal at Minnesota. I wish that game was in November, but it's this weekend. So, okay, we're going to take a look at that. Minnesota played really well. At Michigan, got off to a slow start. I would have loved to see what they did with the ball, had they been allowed to keep the onside kick that they recovered. That was another terrible call from last weekend. And in fact, the Big Ten, with the NCAA's approval, announced a change as to where officials will be placed for onside kicks. So the conference did not admit that a mistake was made in the Michigan-Minnesota game, but it did say, oh, but by the way, we're going to put the officials in different places so they can see what's going on. So anyway, Minnesota played well. SC also playing well. So we'll see how that goes. Clemson at Florida State, mostly because watching the Seminoles is like not being able to look away from a car wreck.
Yeah.
I don't. I have no feelings one way or the other for Coach Mike, but I'm just curious. And as I said, Clemson is playing better, and that's looking more and more like a potential playoff team. And at some point down the road, I might have to
That
pay
is a good
attention to them.
Clemsoning candidate, though.
It
This
is.
is this is a game that
It
has some good
is.
Clemsoning potential. So yeah, you're right. Keep an eye on that game just because of that.
A team that we have not talked much about, other than you made a reference to them, I think last week, Indiana.
Yeah.
Indiana. Great offense. Led by former Bobcat Curtis Rourke, part of the Canadian quarterback Rourke family quarterback dynasty. They're playing at Northwestern. I love that little building. I cannot look at that in Lake Michigan right there enough. Again, I want to see what that looks like in November. It's going to be miserable, but I also want to pay attention to Indiana because Ohio State plays them in November, and that could be a problem, which is
Good.
not something like Illinois. It's not something you would normally say. Although there is a history of Indiana, a recent history of Indiana being annoying. So maybe that's not so unusual. So that's I'm gonna you just pay attention to those games and see how they go, and some of it's scouting, some of it is Schadenfreude, some of it is just because there's nothing else on. So we'll see how it goes. Carla, thank you very much once
Yes.
again.
Thank you as always.
Guys, thank you to AJ for pitching in with his After Dark report. Excellent as always. Guys, do check our show notes. And if you are able, do what you can to help out the folks in Eastern Kentucky and especially Western North Carolina, whether it's the Appalachian State Relief Fund or another organization. They need the help, and it's going to be it's going to take a lot of effort and aid to get those people back on their feet again.
Yeah.
Enjoy the games this weekend. Hope your team does well, and unless you live in Ann Arbor. And we'll see you back here next week. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Yeah, people, yeah, people.